Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to go over how my GMC Yukon transmission failed exactly 1 year after rebuilding it, and we're going to attempt to repair it. My name is Jeremy, this is Region Automotive, and let's get to work. Okay, so I'll give you a bit of a backstory on what was going on with the transmission before it failed the second time. So I was driving on the highway, and first I got a message on the dash, like on the display screen or whatever in the dash, that the transmission was hot. So obviously I was a little concerned about that. Originally, like the thought that was going through my mind, like, especially because I rebuilt the transmission a year ago, you know, I with like big repairs like this and stuff, I'm trying to break the habit of like putting on the rose-colored glasses and just thinking about like every possible scenario why the transmission could be hot besides it needing a rebuild again. So like, you know, the thoughts going through my mind was like, okay, maybe the transmission cooler's plugged up or something, or maybe that failed. I was doing some reading online. Apparently if the torque converter is not locking up properly, it can heat up. And then I noticed when it was getting warm, the gears were kind of slipping a little bit or walking, like, you know, I'd be driving at highway speed, like 100 or whatever, and it'd kind of rev out for a sec and then it'd catch back on, rev out for a sec. So I'm like, oh, okay, maybe the fluid's hot, so it's not transmitting torque and blah, 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 blah. So, you know, I try to create every scenario in my head on trying to think all these easy fixes that it could be. But after doing some thinking, and then I took a video previously, you guys will see in the video that I'm talking about it probably being the torque converter. Again, that's me trying to see best case scenario, but like I did some more thinking about it, and I think that the 3/4 clutch packs have failed again, unfortunately, because that's what failed the first time when I did the transmission. Do I think installed them incorrectly that caused that issue? Maybe. Like, it's pretty straightforward to install the clutches, but when I was putting the piston on, it's kind of hard getting that inner seal to go on. I had to use a feeler gauge for the video I was watching, so maybe the seal wasn't set properly, and maybe it got cut a little bit by the feeler gauge. Again, I don't know. I don't think so. It's also possible because I use it wasn't like super off-brand, is Remco transmission, but it's such a common problem. And they only gave the clutches, not the steels. Again, I don't think that'd make a difference, but it's such a common problem. It's possible that it just happened again, because I probably put, I don't know, 10,000 kilometers on this rebuilt transmission. So that's like 6,000 to 8,000 miles. So like, I like to think that if it's something that I did, it would have failed sooner. The reason why I think it's the 3/4 clutch, I'll insert the video right after I'm done this clip here. So yeah, the transmission, I originally thought I was having issues shifting into 4th gear, but now I think about it, maybe it was 3rd gear. So like the transmission will shift first gear, no problem. 2nd gear, no problem. Reverse, no problem. But as soon as it tries to get to 3rd, it'll like rev out, which is like, again, that's kind of why I'm leaning more towards that 3/4 clutch pack, because it's the most common failure on these transmissions. And like, that's like the exact symptom of that failed 3/4. Originally, again, I put on the rose-colored glasses. I'm like, oh, maybe it's the torque converter. Like, you know, maybe, like I was reading online, apparently the torque converter locks up when it goes into 3rd gear, but I don't think it locks up like immediately when it tries to shift into 3rd. I think it locks up like once you're cruising at a steady speed. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to change my whole perspective on this however you pronounce that word. I'm going to change my whole perspective. Instead of trying to put the rose-colored glasses on and, you know, beat around the bush that it's not the 3/4 clutch pack, I'm going to assume it's a 3/4 clutch pack, and I'm going to find a reason. Like, pretty much I'm going with it needs 3/4 clutch pack again, and I'm going to jump into it and see if I can find any reasons why it's not. So with that being said, I'll insert the clip now of me driving it, showing the issue. And again, in that video, I did it previously, like last week, and I still try to convince myself it wasn't the clutch pack. So we'll watch the video now. Okay, so right now we're in 1st gear. Good. 2nd gear. Once it tries to go up to 3rd, it like half engages and then it slips out. So Best case scenario, yeah, see, it's barely freaking moving. It's not happy. I gotta turn around here and get this back to the shop. So best case scenario is I gotta check my shift solenoids, which it's likely, well, not likely, it's possible, but probably not likely. My instinct is telling me, because I got a transmission hot, like transmission overheating notice on the dash when it first started happening. So maybe, let me get it down in a second here. So maybe the torque converter failed, because I was doing a bunch of research online. That is a common symptom of a overheating transmission, is your torque converter is not locking up properly. And then I actually did some research. Apparently the torque converter locks up on this thing in third gear. So that second best case scenario is, okay, so there's first, let's go up to second. So that second best case scenario is that it needs a torque converter, which I can do probably in a day on the lift. And then third best case scenario, aka worst case scenario, is the 3/4 clutch failed, which is what failed the first time. And that's probably the most likely case, but I don't want to admit it, but that's probably the case. So the first step we're gonna take for our diagnostic is I'm gonna pull the transmission dipstick, and we're gonna take a look at the fluid, and we're gonna smell the fluid, and yeah, we're just gonna take a look and see what the fluid looks like. Okay, so I have the dipstick out on a clean paper towel here. I just like dipped it in and then wiped it on the paper towel a couple times. I'll admit, it doesn't look fresh, the fluid, like it doesn't look black or like totally burnt out. It looks a little darker. It smells like, it doesn't smell burnt, maybe a little bit, like it kind of smells like the fluid got hot, like, you know, that like burning kind of electric smell, like it kind of smells like it got hot. Well, keep that on there. It kind of smells like it got hot, so again, it could indicate that the clutches went. Fluid's a little bit darker than it should be, I think. And then also, like at the edges, like where I actually wiped the dipstick, you can see a bit of like dark material. So that's one indicator that we could have bad clutches. Let's get this thing up in the air, drain the transmission fluid, and get the pan off, and that will tell us for sure. So the lift has been performing well so far. We did that Nissan Frontier, and then I also did that Nissan Rogue. So we're gonna ramp up the weight a little bit. I figure this thing probably weighs 6,000 pounds, and the capacity of lift is 10,000. So let's see how it does it. Everything else looks good under here, hey?
Yeah, not bad, eh?
Like I did a lot of work on this thing.
Not too bad at all.
Yeah, just that stupid transmission. Okay, so we are up in the air. I'm pretty confident with how it's set up, and it's sitting on the locks. So now I'm gonna drain the transmission fluid. I'm probably gonna use a clean bucket actually, again, just to see what the fluid looks like. And then I'm gonna work on taking the pan off with all these pan bolts here. All right, I got the transmission fluid drained here, and I'm not even gonna bother taking off the pan. This tells me everything I need to know. Like I was saying earlier, rose-colored glasses, I was trying to think of something small, like the solenoid wasn't engaging the clutch properly, or the torque converter, but like after draining this fluid, it's pretty damn obvious to me we have a clutch failure. Like, look how dark and murky that fluid is. That's exactly how it looked when the 3/4 clutches failed the first time. And it also, yeah, like right now I can even smell my face like a couple feet away from the fluid, and I can just smell the burnt. Like that is 100% burnt clutches. So I'm not even going to bother taking the pan off. I'm just going to start preparing to get the transmission out. So with that being said, not going to be super detailed removing it because I've already put out a video on how to remove it. I'll put that in the description. No, I'm just going to start. I'll put you guys, like, we'll do a nice little fun montage, but I'm just going to start getting, like, preparing to take the transmission out. There's no way around it. But I must admit, it is nice. I'm not as sour doing it on the lift versus the first time I did it was on the ground where all that crap is. So with that being said, let's get right into it and start peeling parts off. Okay, so I have the transmission out and set up on this handy little rolling table I made actually. So this will be like kind of my mobile rebuild bench. And then I'm later going to see if I can find a bit and actually drill a hole in the middle of this thing so I can put the output shaft through. So when I need to take the drums out. Yeah, so I'll just kind of show you a couple things I noticed. Right away, I noticed that output bearing has a lot, or bushing has a lot of play. And I noticed there's quite a bit of transmission fluid between the transmission and the tailstock housing. So that's my mistake for not replacing that bushing, but also the kit didn't come with it, so I didn't do it, but I should have. So under the truck, what is that, for the front, or input drive shaft, I guess, or just drive shaft for the front differential, the pinion seal is leaking quite a bit, so I'll have to get one of those. Well, there's your problem. Holy smokes, that's a lot of clutch material. Makes me wonder if it was a torque converter. I don't think so, but that's still a lot of material. So I'm getting into it a little bit here, and I will say she is not good. I'll show you some of the carnage there. You can see a lot of material. There is our 2-4 shift clutch. That is bad. Like all that material. Look, I can literally just, like all that clutch material is just separating from the plate. That's not good. Whether that's from being overheated or from cheap clutches falling apart, I'm not too sure. I'm going to, so I was debating whether or not to like get a used transmission, seeing all this material. All right, guys, we have a plan set here. I was going to say change of plans, but I think I mentioned it in one of the previous clips. So because the old transmission, the clutch was just destroyed. So to properly fix it, I'd have to like take the whole thing apart again and clean every single part, and then get like a full rebuild kit instead of replacing just the clutches, which I was planning on originally doing. So as much fun as that was the first time, I didn't really feel like doing it a second time because I have some other projects I need to work on. You can see the edge of the excursion there, and then the Murano sitting behind it. And then I have, what is it, that Dodge van back in the city. This engine I'd like to rebuild eventually. And then our Jeep JK engine that I want to rebuild first. So yeah, anyway, I have a bunch of other projects to look forward to. So I didn't really feel like rebuilding this again. So I found this guy, and it actually worked out pretty good because the guy I bought that Jeep engine that I just showed you, him and I were just kind of chatting, and I was telling him about my little transmission project here. And he mentioned that he had a working 4L60E 4x4 sitting in his garage. And I asked him if he wanted to sell it. And he said, sure, why not? He's going to save it for a project, but like he also has lots of other projects on the go, and it would help me quite a bit. So he ended up selling it to me. So that was really nice of him. So yeah, I'm going to get you set up and we will get it in the truck here. I don't want to bore you guys with the process of putting it in since you already saw how it came out. So let's try one of these. And just like that, the transmission is in. Overall, how was the process compared to doing it on the floor? Better, I would say, like definitely more convenient. I'd be lying if I said I didn't hit my head like half a dozen times on various running gear and the arms of the lift. So that hurt. Luckily, I didn't hit it too hard, and I think I'm going to get some foam edges for the posts on the lift or something, or I got to lift it higher. But yeah, it's definitely more convenient, like less hard on the body, like straining under the car. But still, I'm not going to lie, that wasn't a super enjoyable job. It's very tedious and lots of tight bolts and nuts and greasy stuff and hitting my head. So I'm glad it's in, and fingers crossed. I hope it works because I do not want to do this again. So I'm going to lower the truck, put fluid in, start it up, and you guys can let me know if it's leaking because I'll be in the truck. All right, you guys, this is the look of defeat. Last we left off, I was trying to start the truck there. The starter was clicking, so I thought the battery was dead. So I put like a variety of booster packs, batteries, trying to get it to start. Still wasn't turning over. So finally I decided to lift it up, pull the starter back, see what's going on. Couldn't see anything unusual. So then I decided to separate the transmission from the engine block. I just loosened off the, bell housing bolts. Just backed the transmission off a little bit. Or no, sorry, first before I did all that, I tried rotating the engine by hand and I could not. It was like totally locked up. So then I knew something was binding kind of in that bell housing area. So then I backed off the bell housing and it freed up. I rotated it, double checked all my torque converter bolts, made sure those are tightened up properly, and they were. So what I'm thinking is I did some research online and guys were saying if the torque converter wasn't properly aligned to the pump, it could break. Apparently there's two ears, like alignment ears in the pump. So I'm thinking that may be the case here, just because I foolishly didn't double check the torque converter aligned to the pump. It just seemed like it was good in place. So I put the transmission in, tightened it up, and it could have broke the pump then. That's the only thing I can think of, but I just don't want to work on it anymore for this week. Like I'm tired and I'm frustrated. I've had the transmission on that thing twice now, potentially going to be a third time. So I came home, made myself a nice little coffee, had some banana bread from my sister-in-law. She made some homemade banana bread. Is delicious. So that kind of upped my mood a little bit here to finish off this video. So yeah, I was thinking about putting up, I have a flip video ready as well, so look forward to that next week. I was thinking about putting that up. I'm like, you know what, I'll finish off this transmission video and like admit my mistake. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I was hoping to get the truck running and driving and have the happy ending this week, but it's not. It's the reality. So I'm still going to release the video because obviously I did a lot of work on it, and the truck is just going to sit for a little bit because, like I said, I'm just tired of working on it. And then I have those flip projects that we picked up this week, so I think that will re-energize me for working on projects. So thanks for watching the video, you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and have a good day.